Hello, my name is Stacey Eastwood, and I am doing my video on the affective body, and I will be discussing Sarah Ahmed's The Performativity of Disgust. Her article was about how disgust is clearly dependent upon contact. It involves a relationship of touch and proximity between the surfaces of bodies and objects. That contact is felt in unpleasant intensity. It is not that the object, apart from the body, has the quality of being offensive, but the proximity of the object to the body is felt as offensive. The object must have got close enough to make us feel disgusted. There's so many things that people say are disgusting. That's such a big word that we use. Bodies are disgusting. Things, objects are disgusting. Sticky stuff. That's what she discusses in her paper as stickiness. In the performity of disgust, she says that the lower regions of the body, that which is below, are clearly associated both with sexuality and with the waste that is literally expelled by the body. It is not that what is low is necessarily disgusting, nor is sexuality necessarily disgusting. Lowness becomes associated with lower regions of the body as it becomes associated with other bodies and other spaces. The spatial distinction of above from below functions metaphorically to separate one body from another as well as to differentiate between the higher and lower bodies, or more and less advanced bodies. As a result, disgust at that which is below functions to maintain the power relations between above and below, through which aboveness and belowness become properties of particular bodies, objects, and spaces. Given the fact that the one who is disgusted is the one who feels disgust, then the position of aboveness is maintained only at the cost of a certain vulnerability as an openness to being affected by those who are felt to be below. There's fat shaming. Fat shaming is a big thing. I've been overweight my whole life, and fat shaming is a thing. There was a very popular video that just came out a few months ago about fat shaming. This girl, this is what she says.
That's a race card with no race.
Yeah, but I couldn't fit into a store. That's discrimination.
No, that means you're too fat. You should stop eating.
Everybody just needs to make more space.
There's a race card, there's a disability card, there's even a gay card, because gay people are discriminated against. Wrongfully so.
The gay card's covered in glitter. It's fucking magical.
Are you gonna tell the doctor that they're being mean and fat shaming you when they say you have fucking heart disease? I'm not talking about people who have a little bit of cushion.
She's offensive. She's obviously talking about, I really don't know. I've watched the video several times and I don't understand her anger. Disgust. She's disgusted by fat people. She speaks about having to sit next to someone on an airplane. People talk about that and those issues. We watched the video on In Praise of Fat, and the posts were just horrifying. They just were so disgusted by the fact that this woman was being touched on film and that her body was on display. On the American Reflex video, people were so offended and disgusted by the transgender person that was dressed and just walking down the road that they actually attacked her and pushed her down. Disgust can turn ugly very fast. The discussion of disgust and what it constitutes has a wide range of inherent issues. The performativity of disgust can be looked at in one of several ways. The contact with an object that is disgusting, its stickiness, and naming the object of disgust. Ahmed says that stickiness, like slime, is also inherently disgusting. Or to make this point more strongly, stickiness itself might not be a quality that always adheres to an object. Rather than using stickiness to describe an object's surface, we can think of stickiness as an effect of surfacing, as an effect of the histories of contact between bodies, objects, and signs. To relate stickiness with historicity is not to say that some things and objects are not sticky in the present, rather it is to say that stickiness is an effect. That is, stickiness depends on histories of contact that have already impressed upon the surface of the object. Stickiness, then, is about what objects do to other objects. It involves a transference of effect, but it is a relation of doing in which there is not a distinction between passive or active. Even though the stickiness of one object might come before the stickiness of the other, such that the other seems to cling to it. I think this is kind of a metaphor for just being by, when you were a kid and you were like, they have cooties or whatever, for some reason it's disgusting for another person to touch another person. To name something as disgusting is to transfer the stickiness of the word disgust to an object, which henceforth becomes generated as the very thing that is spoken. The speech act that's disgusting can work as a form of vomiting, as an attempt to expel something whose proximity is felt to be threatening and contaminating. That is, to designate something as disgusting is also to create a distance from the thing, which paradoxically becomes a thing only in the act of distanciation. So to me, that means just that by saying that's disgusting, you're kind of pulling yourself back and saying, I'm different from that, I'm not that way, which I think is where fat shaming comes from. You're trying to say, they're different from me, they're not the same, there's something wrong with them. I think that's why there's so much, we're scared. The things that we're most scared of is the things that we fight against the most, the things that we push away from us the most. That's definitely true when it comes to terrorism. In Ahmed's paper, they also discuss terrorism, the naming a person as a terrorist or looking at the way they're dressed is a fear component, and that pushes them away from you. The disgust is no longer in me or ours. It involves identification of bodies as its object. They are named as Middle Eastern terrorists. Like if you see someone walking down the road and they have different garb on, and you say, oh, they're terrorists because they're Middle Eastern. Clearly disgust sticks to the bodies of the others that are named. It is transferred from sign to body. In the discussion, she's talked about 9/11 and how they were calling the acts disgusting, and so then that transference went from the acts as being disgusting as the people that perform the acts as disgusting. And so anyone that is seen as being Muslim or whatever would be thought of as disgusting and a cause of fear. She also says that the economy of recognition, in which some bodies more than others will be identified as terrorist bodies, regardless of whether they have any official link with terrorist organizations. This economy of recognition has become a part of lived reality on the streets of many countries, where any bodies who look Muslim or Middle Eastern have been the victims of racial assault or abuse because they are associated with terrorism or could be terrorists. This is very common right now. It's in the news because of Syria and the attacks on Paris. People are talking about not allowing refugees in our country because they are Middle Eastern or because there was one person that was involved in the Paris attacks, and so they're gonna, not allow thousands and thousands of people safety because of what one person did, and they call the acts disgusting, and yes, they are disgusting, but we should not paint with such a broad brush, which is what we do with all of society. I mean, if you look at the way we've done for, hundreds of years, I mean, circus acts and circus freaks, anybody that doesn't look like anybody else is deemed as disgusting, and, that's why they were, people would pay to go see them because they were frightful and they were different, and it kind of makes the person that does not look like that normal and okay. When I was researching this, I looked into the different types of bodies and what people think is disgusting. I found pictures of, like the Elephant Man. People used to go pay to go see him, and people with disabilities or amputees. We read about people with amputees and how they have devotees that are people that are just into people that are missing a limb or whatever, and they think they're disgusting, but it's almost like a fetish. It's something that's different, and so they treat the bodies of those people as if they are just bodies. They're not human beings. They don't look at the person behind the amputation. They look at just that one thing and think that that's what they attracted it to, and it's offensive to the person that has that is missing a limb. It's offensive to them that they are looked at just at that one body part, just as it's offensive to me that somebody would maybe, I know there's a whole fetish of men that are attracted to women with large bodies, which I would never be able to be with somebody that was into that, because I want them to look at me as a person, which is how everyone should be when it comes to disgust, when it comes to, you know, terrorism, or somebody that looks like they're Muslim, or someone that's overweight or whatever. You should look at the person itself, that individual person, and not the outside appearance or what they seem like. So, okay, thank you very much.